80% of all sales calls end with 0 closing attempts. And so going into this summer and going into your experience with Vivint, keep in mind that the guys that tend to perform the best are the ones that ask for the order the most times. So the last thing that you want to do is show up, do a great door approach, a great presentation, and then not ever ask for the order. So here's what I know. I've been in sales for about 14 years, is the lights will never always be green. You'll never have, both decision makers together all of the time. The kids that are in the house won't be behaved all of the time. There's going to be loud music, there's going to be loud TVs. The lights will never always be green. And so you need to get in the habit that if you're going to do a good door approach and a good presentation, that come heck or high water, you're going to ask for the order, even if you think it's a long shot. Rule number 1 is that you need to know the only metric that matters. It's not number of doors knocked, it's not number of people that are talked to. It's really how many times today did I put myself in a closing situation and ask for the order. I believe that there are two types of closes. The first one is the obvious one, and for those of you that are new to Vivint or new to sales in general, this should be the easiest one to spot. If during the door approach and during the presentation, if everything seems positive, if the customer is answering our questions, if they seem engaged, if they're asking questions about where would my panel go, okay, so when I can talk to them through my phone, through the doorbell, if they're saying things like that, they've already taken ownership of the product. There's really no reason for me to ask for a hard yes at this point. So really when it comes down to the end of it, I'm going to review all of the equipment with the customer. I know what I'm putting inside of their home because as a professional, I've paid attention to the ways that they've answered my questions, what equipment they would use if they had it inside of their house, etc. So at the end, with a product offering like what we have, let's not get caught up in getting confused about what we're installing. Let's not make sure that every single piece of equipment is perfectly right, because what that does is it drags it out. And remember, the longer that you're inside of a home, the bigger a buying decision this becomes. So when we move through the presentation, I'm taking mental notes. I quickly type it into the Street Genie. I put it in front of my customer. I show them all the equipment that we've discussed. I show them the price, and I simply say, what is your street address? I'm assuming that they're going to go ahead and move forward with the sell. So I know if they give me the street address that it's generally done. If it's not, here's what I know, is the customer will stop you. They will tell you that they're not ready to make a buying decision, and then you can overcome objections. Here's the more complicated part. If during the presentation, I'm maybe not exact, our metaverbal communication's a little off, I don't really know where they stand, I've asked good questions throughout the presentation, but I'm not convinced that they're going to say yes to the order, I'm going to ask anyways. And how I'll generally ask, and how I'll encourage you to ask, is you'll review the list of equipment that you've talked about while you've been in their home, and you'll say, look, all this equipment comes in, it's $99 one time to activate the service, and the monitoring is $80.99. Now, if I can do all of this, and I can do it for this, is there any reason this thing wouldn't make sense for you? And I know most of the time, 9 times out of 10, if I have to close that way, I'm going to get an objection. And so then I'm polished and ready, I've prepared with my objections, and I'm going to overcome the objections, and I'm going to close again. If people are giving you an objection, it's really not an objection, it's a question. So if the objection is, hey, Kenny, you're a great salesperson. I love it when people say that. Kenny, you're a great salesperson. I just need to talk to my wife. I say, okay. In my mind, what my thought is what the customer is really saying is, Kenny, show me why I can move forward doing this without talking to my wife. Or Kenny, why is this a good decision that my wife will support me in? If it comes down to the money, it's not really that they can't afford it. It's, Kenny, how can I afford this? Okay, if it's, I need to sleep on it, just give me one day to sleep on it, come back tomorrow. The real question is, show me why I can make a decision right now, and I don't need to wait until tomorrow. And so I really want you to let that digest and think about that with closing. 90% of objections are not objections at all. They're smoke screens. And so keep in mind that there's always a sell being made. Either the customer is going to sell you on the fact that they need to talk to their wife, they need to sleep on it, they need to consult their accountant, they need to do something else besides sign up for the service. So they're going to sell you on that, or you're going to sell them on the idea that Vivint is the best thing out there and that they need to go ahead and let us install the service so that they can feel the benefits of it straight away. This is my challenge for you on the 30 Days to Pro, is map your flow. At the end of the presentation, when you transition into closing, I want for you to know your first 7 closes that you're going to use. And granted, sometimes the closes will move around depending on what the objection or actually the smoke screen is, but you need to have at least 7. You need to have 7 rebuttals, or 7 times that you can tee the customer back up and ask for the order again. And so if you sit down and you go through those and you practice those, and you're prepared to share other customers' experiences, and you're prepared to share, experiences of your own, and you can just be converted and committed to Vivint being the best product and service out there, you will close accounts, but you won't do it if you never asked for the order.